today's presentation with Michaela King in the Office of Childhood. As we continue to let people in, up is our first slide so everybody knows what meeting they're in. But I always like to see everybody's faces too. And it's so hard when you share. Um, and get ready to, in the middle of Michaela's presentation, she's going to be asking for a lot of input from you. And then there will be a survey at the end. So it is so great seeing so many of you. Always feel free. This is your meeting. If at any time you want to come off mute and talk, please do. Please do. And while we're waiting for more participants to come in, please go ahead in the chat and write down your name and the organization you're with. We always like to do a little bit of introducing each other and our work, but we want to really give this time this month to the Office of Childhood. I love seeing some fa old faces, but new faces. Linda, it's so great seeing you. Your amazing work just astounds me all the time. Um, okay. Well, Kelly, should we get started? I guess so. Welcome to the St. Louis Region Childhood Community Leader Meeting. We are here. Who are we? We are you. We are you. The three leaders here in the St. Louis region are myself, Lisa Graining, Turn the Page STL. Kelly, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Kelly Hantak. I am the Senior Manager of Strategic Program Advancement at United for Children, and I too am a St. Louis community leader for the region.
And our woman across the river, Tiffany, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Tiffany Herbert. I am representing the St. Charles School District, and I am an early childhood careers instructor at our local tech school. So I am the third community leader.
And yet all of you are community leaders on our task force for the St. Louis region, which includes St. Louis City, St. Louis County, and St. Charles County. Just want to welcome, as I said earlier, introduce yourself and your organization in the chat. But feel free as we go through this presentation to come off mute or to put anything else in the chat. We will be monitoring the chat. We're thrilled today to have the Office of Childhood's tabletop listening session, the OOC Strategic Plan, presented by Michaela King, our Outreach Program Director for MoDESI's Office of Childhood. And after her presentation and hopefully a very robust discussion, we will talk about our upcoming meetings and our newsletter and Facebook group page and communication, basically how we're going to be communicating moving forward. So welcome, Michaela King from the Office of Childhood.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Again, my name is Michaela King, and I am the Outreach Program Manager for the Office of Childhood. And one of the things that I get to participate in is these outreach events, and this happens to encompass our strategic plan. So Lisa, if you'll go to the next slide for me. So wanted to give you an update. DESE is in the midst of their strategic plan. And so they have had work groups, they've received stakeholder feedback, and so they are in the process right now really synthesizing that plan and putting it together. And so within DESE's strategic plan, we also have early learning initiatives. But Office of Childhood, being that we're only about 5 years old, is really taking a deeper dive into our strategic plan also. So the timeline is kind of at the bottom, you can see here. I would say we're already into early spring. So DESE's strategic plan will most likely happen at the end of the spring, beginning of the summer as they begin to push that out. So we are in the midst right now of getting that stakeholder feedback for the Office of Childhood strategic plan. And that's happening this April and May, getting ready to kind of just begin our process and seeing what that needs to look like and taking a deeper dive into our strategic plan. And once we do that, early fall, we plan to release the Office of Childhood strategic plan. So I'm going to read the next couple of slides, and I know it will sound a little cumbersome, but as we have learned with DESE's strategic plan, we have really taken away a few things. So this is kind of the start of our process, and I want to make sure we have kind of a foundation to understand, and then we'll kind of move forward. So this is our vision for Missouri's mixed delivery system. So our Missouri early care and education system will work to ensure that regardless of setting or funding sources, these 5 things. 1, children have access to developmentally appropriate services and programs that prepare them for success in school and beyond. That families have access to services that support their child's growth and development and can easily learn about, apply for, and enroll in programs through a streamlined process. That providers, programs, home visitors, and caregivers are supported to operate a stable, high-quality services that retain and develop their workforce. That our early childhood leaders have a clear vision for the early childhood in Missouri and an actionable plan for achieving that vision. And then for our elected leaders and communities to have that access to data about current gaps and opportunities to make informed decisions that support the system to be more responsive to the needs of children and families. So as we've kind of put this piece together, Lisa, I'm gonna have you go to the next one. We've really kind of identified it into 4 main categories. So again, we want all this to be true for all Missouri early learners. We want them to achieve this so that they must have access to high quality early learning programs, professionals, and services that do these 4 things. 1, respond to their emotions with warmth and sensitivity. To create learning environments that support children's time, attention, and behavior. To promote their learning through engaging language and adult-child interactions, and to support their development with high-quality instructional tools. So as we are putting this together and as we've been working with DESE's strategic plan, we have 3 kind of main takeaways or 3 priorities that the office will be focusing on. And Lisa, if you'll go forward for me. These 3 key priorities are access, quality, and data-informed decision. So I'm going to read these again. So our access, we want to maximize our access to early learning opportunities that help prepare children for transition to kindergarten and beyond. For our quality, we want to scale that system for continuous quality improvement, aligned with learning and development standards and high quality instructional materials. And we want to have those data-informed decisions. We want to leverage that data to support those data-informed decisions at every level of the early learning system. So just like Lisa said, this is going to be the opportunity we really asked you to come off mute. And I will tell you this, every listening session that I've done so far, it's always that awkward pause at the very beginning. Nobody wants to be first. But let me just encourage you. So we're going to hit these 3 key priorities, and I'm going to ask a question for each key priority. So if you don't feel comfortable coming off mute, please feel free to put it in the chat and we'll make sure that we address it. But this is the time that we really need your stakeholder feedback. We really want to hear those things that are important. So if you'll go on, Lisa, and I'm going to have you actually go one more. So yeah, keep going. That's perfect right there. So our question is, when families are trying, if we're talking about access, when families are trying to find and enroll in early childhood programs, what makes the process more difficult than it needs to be? So in the St. Louis area, what do you find the process to be more challenging? I know it's always that
And
first person.
applause.
And it's okay. This is the time we
And,
want to hear from
and
you.
this is just access to early learning before kindergarten. Where the second half of that sentence, we're also, I assume, going to discuss that help prepare children to transition to kindergarten and beyond.
Absolutely. So, and when we talk about early childhood programs, that could be a multitude of things, right? That's not just daycare
Mhm.
or childcare. That's first steps or parent ed or
Oh, I
a
see.
preschool. So, what does that look like overall? And depending on what area you work with, what tends to be more difficult for families?
Oh, I know this group is not quiet. Come
For
on,
me,
Dana.
sometimes families don't know how to like enroll in the subsidy.
Mm,
And then sometimes I've had families where like they've gotten the subsidy, but they might get like a 25-cent raise in their job that knocks them off of subsidy. So now they're supposed to pay for like the three
okay.
kids that they have in daycare without any support. And then some of our families with our threshold for first steps with the having to have the 50% delay
Okay.
in two areas. That's one like that's high compared to all of the other states that have early intervention. So sometimes our families we are referring our families to first steps and they're not getting in because they don't have the 50% delay, so then they have to wait longer and have a further of a delay in order to get support. So those are just
A few, yeah, great
a few.
feedback. Yeah.
We have two questions in the chat.
Okay.
Michelle asked, or said, demand is higher than the spaces available.
Mm,
And
yep.
then Larry asked, where does 4-year-old pre-K fit into this strategy?
I think very much so in this. What is the access that is hard for our 4-year-olds, our pre-Ks to fit? What are you seeing as parents are having a challenge to find those pre-K slots?
I think even to Michaela, we have infant and toddler childcare deserts in St.
Okay.
Louis County and St. Charles specifically. And so with that desert, then you're not in the system.
Mm,
So I would like to see that desert, more infant and toddler
okay.
spots available. So people can go back to work and have a good place for their children to be and to thrive.
Absolutely. Great feedback. What else?
Agreed in the chat with Michelle. It said limited spaces, although we can send to our partners, but they are too limited.
Mm, okay. Limited space.
And please come off mute when you do introduce yourself so we know where, I know some people are shy, but don't be shy in this group.
Hi, Michaela. My name is Brooke. I'm from 9PBS, and we put together an advisory board. And something that we've been hearing from our stakeholders that are a part of that advisory board is like access to pediatricians and being able to get vaccines scheduled and on time so that children can attend licensed childcare facilities.
Mm, great feedback. I heard in one of the other ones too, some of our families who maybe don't have a regular pediatrician just go to walk-in clinics. And so those that maybe have a secure pediatrician are knowing what those milestones are and the resources that are available, where if you just go into a walk-in clinic or something along those lines, resources may not be as available or they're not as knowledgeable about them. So that was kind of another key piece with that we've heard too. So yeah, great feedback. Thank you for sharing. What else?
I know the home visitation model is phenomenal when it comes to making sure families know what's out there, whether it's first steps or childcare or anything. But a lot of, first of all, there's not enough funding for home visitation. So there's just not enough home visitors. And two, maybe the model needs to not needs to meet parents where they are more.
Can you describe that a little bit more for me? What do you mean by that?
Uh, and I don't mean to take up all this time because you guys are all the experts, but and if anybody wants to chime in about this, but parents, some families are very mobile. They move a lot.
Okay.
Some don't necessarily want a stranger in their house. And so where can they meet them?
Okay.
This is Jane. Outreach at School for the Blind, and we also have a Birth Through Five home visiting parent education program. Um, uh, in addition to everything else you said, then you have to throw in, a parent of a child with a disability for the first time. What resources are out there? What we find is there's so many doctor's appointments. They're just trying to survive. And they know they need early intervention and they know they need help and they want to, but sometimes, the 7 stages of grief and they're just trying to survive is two very crucial variables. And then, Lisa, along with what you said with the home visiting program, we're across the state of Missouri, and there is enough homes to keep my parent advisors busy, but oftentimes because in the rural areas, they're the only one that they see. And so a lot of our budget goes into that travel time, and we'd rather have it in that in-person time. And I thought over time that a lot of our parents would want to meet virtually just because that would fit into their schedule more. But more and more, they really want those in-person visits. Once they develop that rapport with that parent advisor or that home visiting parent, they want it in person.
Okay.
So yeah, there's never enough money. There's just, yeah.
Sure.
And then the bid process for the state of Missouri, that's not user-friendly at all. The paperwork to become an independent contractor or a parent advisor is the same bid contract that corporations use, and that's really a big stumbling block with movers, registering with movers, and then checking back with movers and making sure this is there, and that is really the logistics of getting them paid is tough and
Okay.
very unuser friendly for who is we're expecting to get paid and how little they get paid. I'm stopping, sorry.
Great feedback.
Oh,
No,
great.
this is your time to share, and I've taken all the notes. So, once I'll share this at the end, but after we go through this, again, we're really synthesizing all what we've heard and where are these patterns and what are we seeing, and some of the things that we can't change based on the funding that we receive, but what can we do to make sure that the funds that we do receive are going to be the most effective that we can for our families in Missouri. So no, please share. This is our time. So well,
Linda shared
go
in
ahead.
oh, sorry. I was just saying Linda shared in the chat that language access can be a barrier as well as
Okay.
required documents being accurate and complete.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do want to say what works is the collaboration, these meetings, the office, the OOC regional meetings, the resources get out there. That has been so wonderful.
That's good feedback too, right? We'll take that one too.
Yeah, big shift over the past year, I would
That's
say.
right. Well, good. We've needed that, right? So I don't want to cut us short, but at the same time, I want to be respectful of your time. So if you don't have anything else, I'm going to move on to our next one.
How is the Office of Childhood set up to prepare children for transition to kindergarten? Is it up to each individual program, childcare center, or pre-K to do that, or do you have supports?
So we do have supports, but we have supports really for our providers and for our pre-K and districts as well, that they can utilize. But do they know about it, right? Are they using it? One of those type things. So that's great questions. Yeah. So providing that curriculum, giving them the resources that they need for trainings to make sure that they feel knowledgeable in, we heard a lot about, providers have a lot more special needs kids in their facilities and maybe not as equipped to handle some of our special need children. So yeah, that's a great question, Lisa. So that's definitely what we do, but communicating that out just so that we make sure all parties know the resources that are available. So great question. Okay, well, Lisa, if you'll go on to the next one for me, we'll keep going on to quality. And so our question with quality, so again, I read this earlier, but our question is, what makes it harder for early childhood programs to provide high quality care and experiences for children? So we're looking at that quality piece. So what makes it harder? I see staff turnover already.
That
That
was
popped
just what
up
I was
really
about to say.
fast. Yeah, go ahead.
Come off mute.
No, I'm Dana Walker. I'm the director of Bell Children's Services St. Louis ARC. I was going to say staff turnover too, because I have staff that are in the centers working with the teachers and the parents and the kids, and the staff turnovers definitely affects the class environment and the temperament of the kids. And sometimes you have a very seasoned teacher that's leaving, and then you get a teacher that's just coming into early childhood, so you're really trying to teach them the nuances of growth and development and what's developmentally appropriate and what's atypical, and just kind of basic growth and development before you can really teach them anything else.
Absolutely. Yeah, great
Does
feedback.
anybody know, and I'm asking this question, why there's such high staff turnover? Anybody want to talk about that?
I mean, some of the teachers that we work with that left because they're going to other professions that are like higher paying a lot. A lot of the teachers that we work with go to the like support care, or they go into hospitality at hotels. Those are the two big ones that I see, because they'll give them a higher rate of pay and they're getting benefits.
Okay.
A few
Well
folks said
said.
in the chat, also before staff turnover, staff burnout due to underpaying and high demand. And then someone else said low wages and no benefits.
Okay. Great feedback.
I would like to contribute a response.
Yeah, absolutely.
And thank you, Ms. King, for coming on here and providing this session today. I am enjoying myself already. But my name is Samantha March, and I'm speaking from the St. Louis Pre-K Cooperative, which is a big hosted network of schools as well as child care providers in the city of St. Louis as well as in the county. And so my experience lately has been that there are so many wonderful organizations here in St. Louis that are providing some very robust, high quality professional development at no cost to our educators. However, what I find the hindrance is the timing. And so the professional development cannot occur during the school day. So we're providing it in the evening, or the weekends, and then being able to compensate the educators for coming out has been a barrier and a burden. So folks definitely want to participate. They enjoy the sessions. They enjoy being in camaraderie with other colleagues as well. But again, being able to provide that in the evenings and weekends has been a challenge instead of job embedded like you would normally see at a local school district.
Great feedback. Great feedback.
Thank you, Dr. March.
I see pay not feeling worthy in the classroom also.
Respect
Mhm.
and exhaustion too. I mean, this is the toughest job in the world, is to take care of our future, right? There needs to be a somehow, some way, a change.
Yeah. Anything else with quality? Again, I don't want to linger and draw us out, but I definitely want to make sure that we've heard everything as well.
I apologize if this has already been said. I might have missed it, but I think something that I hear a lot about, and I'm Casey Hansen with Kids Win Missouri, is just a lack of alignment between some of like the incentives for programs to become quality, or there is a lot of investment, for instance, like the Teach program in helping their staff get their education built up. I hear so many positive things about that. There's a lot of training, free training in the environment that I hear a lot of good things about. But then it's like the staff get that education, get that training, and then there's not like the incentives and a good structure to help them then pay their staff better and all of those things. So like we have the accreditation enhancement, for instance, but like is there enough incentivizing of quality throughout the system? And not only like an incentive in the sense of like you get a reward for doing this, but like also accepting the reality that it costs more to provide higher quality. It's a cost to the providers, it's a cost to the staff, et cetera. So just kind of, it's hard for providers to provide quality. A lot of the ones that are, they're doing it with some personal investment and sacrifice into it, but the system not necessarily compensating them for that. So that's just like, it's a big thing, and something that I continue to think about is how do we create a system that really incentivizes providers to want to get licensed, to want to work toward accreditation, to become accredited, to do all those other things, but that our system also like rewards that and acknowledges that this is valuable, important work. And in order to do it quality, to do it well, it requires more money that aligns with that as well.
Great feedback. Thanks, Casey.
I think
I'm sorry.
we,
Was that Lisa?
yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead,
I will say
Coletta.
real briefly that there's an increase. There seems to be an increase in children being diagnosed with autism, ASD, and other developmental disabilities. We're seeing an uptick of that across the nation, and we're seeing an uptick in kids with very complex behavior issues very early on. The kinds of things that we're seeing now, we didn't used to see it when in preschool and daycares, but we're starting to see very complex, high level elevated behaviors, and it's difficult to provide quality instruction, quality service if you feel overwhelmed and inundated and you don't have the manpower to really meet the need that's in front of you, because we can look at it on a surface level just for racial purposes, but a child with very complex needs may need a one-to-one support. They may need a professional just assigned to them. And if you don't have that, and you have to spread yourself among the entire class, and you have multiple children with several things going on with them, it can really strain the system, and it can really impair the quality of care that the individual children need, and then the class, maybe even your entire facility. So I think that's something to think about as well.
Great feedback. Thanks, Coletta.
Excellent.
Okay. Anything else with quality?
Casey.
I'm sorry, one more
Yeah, you're fine.
thing. And I don't know what category this fits in, but another one of those issues that just keeps coming back for me is how we create much stronger relationships between school districts and community-based childcare programs and really build understanding between the two groups and respect for the role that each group plays in the system and really, I don't know, facilitate, foster the environment where everyone is viewing the children as their children and our children, and everyone's invested in understanding that even in a community-based childcare program, they're going to come into the school district. And so we want to work together. And I feel like there's been some effort with that. There's been some communities that seem to do a really great job with that. Sometimes I feel like DESE could also have a role in that, where DESE sits as kind of now over childcare and the public education system. But I think there's a really big breakdown sometimes between the two, and they find themselves in competition or something, or providers also feel like, the state would like to see all the money go into public schools and not in private childcare. And while that may or may not be the case, but how we recognize this is a mixed delivery system, everyone has a part, everyone should be respected as people that are trying to care for our youngest children and really work together toward better outcomes. So that's like a big thought, but it's just something that really lingers for me through a lot of these conversations.
Great
Very
thought.
well said. Very well said, Casey. I think that lingers with me too.
Okay.
I did have
I'm gonna-
one thing to
Oh,
add
go
to
ahead.
this.
Yeah.
So coming at it has to do with the access and the quality. So looking at the aligning learning and developmental standards and high quality instructional materials aspect of this is that inherently early childhood as a practice and coming from like a theoretical lens, we're looking at child-led learning in like Reggio inspired Montessori project construct. But there's been more of a transition to like with read, lead, and succeed, letters training, and some of the aspects that you're not necessarily going to get in play-based learning alone, that there's going to have to be some direct and explicit instruction. And so how to navigate that like inherent tension that is there between, are we completely play-based, or are we also incorporating aspects of like letters training and more phonological awareness? Like how can we meet in the middle, or like where do we like how can we navigate that tension?
Are your pre-K teachers having to take letters training?
It is, we have offered it. It's not required, but we've had lots of teachers take us up on that opportunity.
Oh, that's great. I didn't. I wish there was more play, and that the teaching of reading is what I think you're talking about. It comes in time, but not in pre-K.
I just wanted to read one thing in the chat before you move on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Christy said, I'm so glad you brought that up, Coletta. We're getting good at diagnosing and identifying early, but the early childhood world doesn't have the capacity to keep up with the additional support to be truly inclusive.
Great thoughts. Okay, let me just tell y'all, you started off slow, but man, these have been great, great thoughts within these two key priorities already. So I'm going to keep us moving to the third one because I don't want to take so much of your time. But our third key priority is that data-informed decision. So the question that we've asked has been, what tends to make it harder than it should be for families or providers to get the information they need about early childhood services? Let you have some time to process. Don't stop it now. I just encouraged you with all your positive feedback.
This is not against you, Michaela, but the websites are terrible. A lot of them. I find them hard to navigate and I'm familiar with them. So I can imagine that parents do, and that's how most people are getting their information. And more than that, like websites that are mobile optimized and things like that. So um, it's kind of like a criticism across state government, but that just, I think, as technology becomes even more ingrained for everybody, it just is a huge issue when that stuff doesn't work well.
So I will say on our end, that is a piece we are working on for sure, because we do realize that a lot of our families are utilizing the webpage mobily, and so that tends to make it even more challenging to get the resources that they need. But I have definitely have written that down, and so yes. Melanie, I see your hand up.
I think the other issue, at least when I've been talking to families, is there's so much out there, they don't even know where to begin.
Okay.
It's just overwhelming. And so if there was some way that we could totally streamline the information and like step 1, step 2, almost like a flow chart type of something for families, I think that would be really beneficial. Because they call somebody and then they get moved to somebody else. This has just been happening for us. And then they get moved to somebody else and then they contact us and we might not even be the people that they're needing, but we try and help them as best as we can and point them in the right direction. And they're like, I've already talked to like 5 people before I even got to you. I don't even know where to go. So I think there's just so much information out there, which is great. We love information and we love resources. That's not the problem, but I think what we need to do is just make it more streamlined for families.
Absolutely. I love the idea of the flow chart, and I see that is Dr. Samantha put that in there as well. So great suggestions. And that has been a trend, just the overwhelming, I don't even know where to start. I don't know how many parent educators we have on the call today, but that's something that's been brought up as well. You know, if you have a child in a district already, sometimes it's easier to kind of pinpoint to a starting point for those resources. But if you are a first-time parent, it's really challenging to know where to begin. So great thoughts. So.
You know, Michaela, how we have the Missouri Family Resource app that you can find resources. It would be really nice if the Office of Childhood or DESE had an app with that flow chart. And that flow chart in that app walked you through and then sent you to information.
Yeah, great thoughts.
There's several things happening in the chat right now, so I'll just kind of read them through. Andrea said lack of knowledge of where to go and where to look for the information. Haley mentioned that she was just earlier working on website updates with Michaela for community leaders and earlier access. So yay, that's exciting. Larry asked, quality of data dictates the quality of the decision. What are the primary data sources we need? And then we have love the flowchart idea, and cost is not always disclosed up front or is not available on the websites.
Okay. Great thoughts. What else? Larry, I'm going to ask you, if you don't mind, when you ask the question, what are the primary data sources we need? What would you say are the primary data sources that are needed?
Well, I think the problem is you've got them all over the place. You need birth records to plan. You need health records. You need migration records. You need to know what the public schools have for capacity, what the local providers have for capacity. It's a very fragmented question, which means there's a lot of fragmented data.
Right.
And the challenge is you just can't throw it together You got to plan out what are the facts you need and what does it take to make all that stuff fit into those facts.
Great thoughts.
Excellent.
Thank you for sharing, continuing
Yeah,
to
I've been
share
doing
that.
this for way too long. I think I'm getting off the beam.
So Larry, where are you at? What do you work with an agency or a district or?
Well, I'm a retired cranky old school board person who just happened to be an IT lifer.
Okay.
And data is one of my passions.
Okay. Wonderful. Well, thank you for being on the call and sharing. Appreciate it.
Try to help.
I'm formerly with the Melville School Board.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
they don't publicize that. I'm kidding.
Oh, goodness. Okay. Well, anything else with data informed decisions? What's making that challenging? Okay, well, I'm not going to keep us lingering. Let me just tell you, you all have been fantastic in your responses and your feedback. Thank you so much. Here's a QR code, and then I'm going to have Lisa drop the survey in the chat. The survey is really only 5 questions. It really is just going over. Oh, Casey, go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry, one more thing on data. I apologize. Is there any way more like timely and up-to-date data, especially about things like the wait list? Like I know that's getting added to the monthly reports. I think I asked, can that be put like weekly on the website just so people can like stay a little bit more up to the minute on some of that? So anyway, sorry.
Okay, no, great feedback. Definitely put it down. So this survey is really, if it's 4 or 5 questions, it really goes over what we just went over. If there's something that you missed or something that you want to elaborate more on, I would encourage you to take the survey. Don't feel like you have to, but at the same time, if you know people that have not, that didn't get to attend today and are not going to be able to attend, please feel free to share that with them. And then Lisa, if you'll go to the next slide. So this is my email address on here.
Sorry.
Nope, you're fine. I just want to thank you for participating, for taking the time. Know that we hear you, and we want to continue to hear you, and taking these things then to our leadership and to our staff, and really putting a plan in place that we can be proud of and moving forward. So again, this is my email, michaelaking@desi.mo.gov. I am with the outreach section, but I would be happy to connect you if there's someone that you're have more questions about. I would be happy to make those connections for you. So that is it for my presentation. I'll turn it back over to Lisa, but thank you so much for allowing me to share. I really appreciate it.
And I apologize that the survey is not in there.
Yeah.
Not yet. It's
Yeah, I think I can help. Let me see if I can help.
Like, where's the link? Where's the survey?
I just can't get out of it.
There we go. I got it for you.
Thank you, Michaela.
Yeah, no big deal.
Thank you. The screens got kind of messed up, but everybody's
That's
used
all
to
right.
that with me. And I'm going to give everyone just a couple minutes to look at that survey, because I think sometimes we forget once we get off the meeting to do it. So if that's all right, because I believe in we need every voice on this survey. And so take your time, but don't leave, because we have some great updates in a few minutes. if when you are completed the survey, um, do a thumbs up or something, and then I'll have a sense of timing. Oh, awesome, Jane. Okay. All right. All right. This is great. Michaela, I cannot thank you enough for coming and for listening. And we look forward to your results and moving forward with supports for all of our early childhood providers and programs. It's the most important investment we can make uh, for all is in our young children. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All righty. We might get out of here early. Remember that you will get a tomorrow or the next day from me our monthly e-newsletter. It'll have a recording of this. It'll have the chat, the meeting notes. It'll have a link to the survey. And you now have Michaela's email address. You can always contact me if you have other suggestions, other thoughts. And if you have information that you would like us to share in this newsletter, please feel free to email that to me or post it directly on our Facebook page, our St. Louis Region Childhood Community Leader Facebook page. Oh, see, I've been doing this so much, I just moved right on to the make sure you're posting. See all the likes down in the comments, Michaela? Uh, um, make sure that you're posting, you're sharing, you're tagging our St. Louis Region Childhood Community Leader Facebook page. We want to make sure that we can get information out to you as fast as we can as the St. Louis region. Oops. So, oops. This is an old slide, but our next and final meeting of our year is on May 20th. It's back to 12:30 to 1:30. We are going to be talking about, I apologize here. We're going to be talking about Beth Ann Lang is going to join us. Many of us know her. Uh, uh, Sorry, I'm looking at the chat here. Beth Ann Lang with Missouri Child Care Aware is going to talk about child care wages, Missouri's salary supplement program. And also not included on here is Angela Okuda is also going to be joining us. She's going to be talking about Waterford Summer Learning Resources, which the Office of which MoDESE is providing for free. Yes, Christy, thank you for your leadership on this. Casey, we skipped introductions at the beginning because we wanted to get right to Michaela, but please, yeah, feel free to share any updates in the chat and then we'll make sure everybody else gets them. You know what, actually, Casey, I think you could end this meeting with a good note about maybe some stuff happening in the Senate, Missouri Senate and the budget. I put
Okay,
you on the
yes,
spot.
only if I can share one really quick organizational announcement too.
Yes, yes, of course.
Okay, so good news in the Missouri Senate, the 51 million that we've been talking to a lot of folks about for childcare subsidy was restored in the Appropriations Committee. So there's still a number of hurdles. Obviously, there's a difference now between the House and if the full Senate approves it. So there will be a conference committee. But just to let you guys know, some of the advocacy has been working, which is great news. There was also 1.5 million, or wait, $1.5 million added to the Child Care Works program in the Senate. That's on top of 1 million added in the House. So that program is now at a total of 5 million if it all stays in. What I did want to announce to this group is we are still trying to fill childcare work slots, especially in the St. Louis area. And we are looking for employers who would like to provide a childcare benefit to their employees via Childcare Works. As we've talked about it a little bit, but this allows the employer to put in some money that draws down the state money and then the parent pays the rest. So it helps your employees afford childcare more. It also allows you to offer a benefit and leverage some state money to set it off. There's also tax credits. And then for St. Louis area employers, the McDonald Foundation is for 2 years offering a special incentive where they will pay part of the employer's share as well. So we really want folks to get signed up for this opportunity, help make childcare more affordable for parents, help your organization that you lead. We're hosting 2 webinars for employers where they'll be really going over all of this. So April 30th, there's one at 10 a.m. and one at 2 a.m. So please share, especially if you have friends who are small business owners, large business owners. This is a really great opportunity to provide something to their employees. And again, help more parents be able to afford their childcare. So if you have any questions about Childcare Works or I can help, please reach out as well. But thanks for letting me take up a little time.
Good. No, thrilled. And this you'll send us the flyer to invite businesses?
I'll send you, what I have is kind of like an email. So I'll forward that to you, Lisa, but I put in the chat the links for the 2 webinar possibilities that are coming up.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing all this great news.
Yeah. And keep advocating. Just because we got the money back in, it's not over yet till it's over, folks. So
For sure. For sure. Thanks, Dana, for all your input. Anybody else? We have a couple minutes here. Please share that survey with your colleagues. We really want as many people to fill that out as possible. Okay. You know where to find me. You know where to find Kelly. You know where to find Tiffany. Please keep us informed and have a great rest of your April. And we'll see you in May.